Hello, everybody, and welcome to my Damian Rodriguez Friday Night Live Chalk Show special. Today, I have two very special guests with me. I have John Vokal and Hannah Boissonneault. Let me fix my shirt from the band Blank Slate, and they're going to be joining me tonight from Detroit, Michigan. Earlier this week, I put out, oh, hey, there's John watching me right now. Earlier this week, I put out a Deep Cuts video profiling Blank Slate, and they're a prog rock band from Detroit, Michigan, who I compared to bands like Chevelle, the Deftones, Perfect Circle, with the vocalists of Paramore, Hayley Williams, because their vocalist Hannah, who will also be joining me tonight, has these really jazzy vocals, and their songs sound really, really cool. But I'm going to let the video play for just a little bit because last week we had some tech issues. And so I'm going to see if John can go and add himself or ask to join the live chat. If not, we talked about going and getting on his iPhone, and then we're going to make that happen. I talked with my friend Dave Geiselman earlier this week about getting some tips for how to make these videos go a little bit smoother. And that's one of the tips he said was to just leave a little bit of intro time to go and start chatting about things. So I thought I'd go and I'd talk about like the inconveniences of tech difficulties, because isn't the purpose of tech difficulties or technology, the purpose of technology is to make life easier, but then in reality it always goes and makes life harder. Like this one where they're saying like, oh, okay, Facebook Live is going to bring everybody together. You could be in Detroit, Michigan and in Los Angeles, California and have a conversation. But they never tell you that it doesn't go smoothly and your heart rate gets up and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to have a coronary because the Facebook isn't working. Oh, hey, Dan. And like it always goes wrong at the worst possible time. Like you think that the technology is supposed to be working, make your life easier, and help expedite the process, but always goes wrong at the worst possible time, right? You're either talking on your phone to your grandma in the hospital, and you're like, oh wait, what happened to grandpa? And then the phone goes dead, or you're like talking with your boss, trying to get to do a job interview, and they're like, what are your greatest weaknesses? And before you get the opportunity to say, I have no weaknesses, your like voice call drops and you're like, oh, my greatest weakness is my Wi-Fi connection. So the tech difficulties are very, very frustrating. But I'm going to try to go and bring John and Hannah in. So I like it when we get to have two people on because it makes for... Ooh, I see John. Let's see. I'm going to tap John. Oh, can't bring John on camera. They can't join your broadcast at this time. That is okay. I talked with Dave. This kind of stuff happens all the time. John, if you're watching, I think, buddy, it's time to change it over to the iPhone. And then we're going to try to do it again. But these kinds of things happen. It's no big deal. Except now I'm trying to go and swipe. Who is the like computer technology guy that was so into swiping? Like, he's like, you know what, we're in the 21st century, we're in 2018, none of this clicking on things, nuh-uh, that's so 2017, I just want to swipe on things. My entire life would be so much easier if I could just swipe my way through life. So here I am trying to swipe, but then it doesn't happen, which goes into what I was talking about, technology being inconvenient. And like right now, I'm trying to do this conversation with John and Hannah, and technology never goes awry at a convenient time, right? It never goes awry on a Sunday at 3:45 in the afternoon. It always goes awry when you're trying to do something, and then you can't do it, and then you're here monologuing like a fool, even though you have no stand-up comedy experience whatsoever. But, you know, the thing about these technology things is that when you do figure it out, then all of a sudden you become like this elitist expert, like, oh my God, Karen, you don't know how to use the office Wi-Fi to connect to the printer? Well, I know how to use the office Wi-Fi to connect to the printer. So therefore, I am going to go ahead and lord it over you until you figure out how to use the office Wi-Fi and connect to the printer, and then I'm screwed. But I see John hopped over to the iPhone. We're going to try to bring you in, bud. bring John in on camera. Adding. Let's see. I sent the request. Yeah, I saw your request and connecting. Yes, it's connected.
Wait, okay. Let's see if we can get like a not terrible camera angle halfway. So that we can... Wait, there we go. Lighting's decent. We're both in the video. Perfect.
Yes, I love that. When I get a bigger budget for the show, I'm gonna go to the 99-cent store and get a kazoo and call it the connection kazoo. And whenever the person gets on it, I'm like, do 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 do, you get connected.
I fully support this.
Yes, I think that's a great idea.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy you guys are here. We have John Vokal on the right with the beard, and then by process of elimination, that makes you Hannah Boissonneault, right? Because you don't have a beard.
Yes, it does.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we got that straightened away. But the first thing I want to ask is, you guys posted today that you got nominated for some Detroit Music Awards. What's that about?
Yes, we did. So basically, like, the process is you get to nominate people that are musicians in Detroit, like, by musicians in Detroit. So basically, like, the voters are musicians who are, like, in Detroit, and you basically vote for, like, the musicians that you think are good for each category. So we got nominated for the, like, indie rock category, and then we got nominated for the heavy rock category.
Oh, heavy rock.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, we're kind of both like hitting each other at the same time, relentlessly. So, you know, we were, you know, between picking both, you know, we were just like, oh, why not both? Let's go for it.
Well, that's good though, because it's like when they do like one of those drawings at like a church picnic and you put your name into the drawing bucket like 15 times just to make sure that you win. You want to make sure that you're nominated for as many categories as possible just to cover your bases.
Yeah, we'll make sure we get nominated for the country category next year so that we can make sure all the bases are covered this time.
Well, all you have to do if you want to get nominated for the country category is, like, every time you say baby in one of your songs, just change it to, like, darling, and then like, automatically you're a country band now.
Right. Instead of talking about, like, Michigan weather, we'll talk about, like, farm weather and stuff like that.
Farm weather?
Yeah. Like, oh, Kentucky, you're so cold. Oh my goodness. But yeah, so, well, congratulations. First of all, congratulations for that.
Thank you.
That's huge because you guys just started Blank Slate in 2016, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took a little bit to figure out.
Well, I was going to get to it later. I thought you guys had this song called Tangency. I thought you were really into math. Like,
Hannah came up with the idea of the title for Tangency because it reflects like two points moving away from each other, you know, essentially. So like that was just sort of an idea in like a, you know, a relationship format or, you know, a personal format of just like two people that were previously close drifting apart. So that's sort of the way that we I think we came up with that idea. I didn't really do a whole lot lyrics wise because, you know, that's more her category. I just do like the ignorant guitar parts and stuff like that. So
oh, don't say that. Those are some really good guitar parts.
Appreciate it.
But and so is that how it works? Is Hannah, you're the main lyricist, you write the majority of the lyrics?
Yes. John and I usually like share some of the lyric writing, and that's really fun because we get to like, you know, share different perspectives and everything. But yeah, I write most of the lyrics.
Just like the vast majority. Usually what I'll do is like when I think like little ideas pop into my head, I'll write like the line down in like this running note. And when it comes time to write lyrics, I'll send Hannah just like this giant running paragraph of like incoherent lines and all this stuff. And Hannah will pick and choose of those lines, like what fits kind of, you know, what's going on as far as the song goes. And we just sort of go from there. So.
But see, you should record those long lists of incoherent lyrics. That way you can get nominated for the spoken word category too.
Right, the Midwestern spoken word. Perfect.
Exactly. You're like the poet laureate.
I feel like that category should just be like La Dispute winning every year, like over and over again, especially since they're from Michigan.
Oh, Well, look at that. You guys are name dropping. I mean, this interview is going by far smoother than the first two interviews, and I'm so sad because I don't have the connection kazoo. But you guys, what are some of your influences? Because I speculated in the video about bands like Chevelle, the Deftones, the Perfect Circle. But what were your guys' influences as a band, as Blank Slate, going in? Getting into your first album. Oh, you didn't put the Do Not Disturb on. I know that thing.
So for us, I mean, should we talk about maybe our personal influences a little bit, maybe how we came into music, and then we can sort of use that to sort of where the direction of Blank Slate went, because it's changed a lot, honestly, since we first started to what it is now. I know I personally am a big fan of a lot of progressive music. Like the first band that I listened to get me inspired was Avenged Sevenfold, because I heard Sinister Gates' guitar playing, and I just went like, you know, like I was like, okay, I need to play like Sinister Gates, you know. That's what happens when, you know, you're young and I guess you hear somebody that you're inspired by. Then I got into progressive music, and I'm like I'm still a giant prog nerd to this day. Guys like Periphery, Between the Buried and Me, like all of those like very like long concept album, whatever. And I think I'll stop there for personal influences if you want to hop in on yours, and then we can start talking about band influences.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Personally, like for me, I loved, like as a bassist, my biggest influence as a child was Steve Harris from Iron Maiden.
Oh, I love
That's like my
Iron Maiden.
biggest fan. Yes, they were a huge band for me, and they still are. I really have them like deep in my heart. But I love bands like Red Hot Chili Peppers, Radiohead. Radiohead's a big one right now. But I love like little like indie bands like from Indian Lakes. I love their songwriting. They're a progressive band from California. I would say Local Natives, Grizzly Bear, bands like that. But yeah, I'd say Radiohead and Iron Maiden. Pink Floyd was a big one for me. Smashing Pumpkins, a lot of like the classics. But Alice in Chains was like really big vocally for me.
Oh, you some Lane Stanley, huh?
Yes. Lane Staley is like one of my favorites. He's amazing, but
yeah, rest in peace, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
But his harmonies
Don't do drugs.
were incredible.
Right. Public service announcement. Right.
Don't do drugs. So from there, I think I had the idea of Blank Slate just because like I was really into a lot of instrumental stuff. Polyphia, Sean, that kind of stuff, like really like riffy, like, hey, look how good I am at guitar. And it was from there that I think we originally set out to be an instrumental band. And if you listen to our songs like Halfway the Harmony and Green Pencil off of our first EP, that's what we were setting out to be, you know, like this really riffy instrumental band. And then we sort of realized that we have like all these different like talents like that could be used a lot, you know, more effectively. Our guitarist Jim, who I believe is watching right now, is like really into like math rock and like post rock and like a lot of really emotional like music with a lot of layers. And I loved it when I would take like, I'd have like this one riff and it'd just be this one bass riff, and Jim would add like 15,000 guitar parts on top of it. Yes. And it sounded super cool. And we were like, all right, this is awesome. And then Hannah has a great voice. She writes good lyrics. So, you know, we wanted to utilize that. It gave us a lot more options. And you can sort of see on Animate that we were really trying to figure out what we are, because Animate sounds very different from Green Pencil. Green Pencil sounds very different from Muser, etc. And I think after we released Muser, which was the first song, you discussed on your video, was the first one we wrote together. A lot of layers, very spacey, focused more on like, you know, the emotional aspect of things. And we really liked how it came out. So into our next EP, we decided to sort of have that, like, you know, the layers, the emotion, good lyricism, taking, you know, a little bit of time for the songs to develop. Our songs average like at least 5 minutes a song. So
one aspect that I think also is really cool is that we all like write our own parts too. Like Zach has like really good drum parts that honestly, like I can't even imagine like coming up with. Like, I don't know. Everyone is just like it's really fun to write our own parts and like to have come together as a band and then like flesh them out together. And I think that's something that we do pretty well, considering we're all like going to different colleges and having like careers and doing different things. So it's really cool.
Yeah. And like along with that, speaking of Zach's, I mean, he's into metal just like I am, but his biggest thing too is like rap and R&B music. He's a big fan of a guy named Black Bear. So Zach uses like a very different approach to drum writing and groove writing for our music, I feel like, and it comes out great. I mean, that kid is ridiculous in the studio. Like he seriously, like, he acts like it's easy. Muser, he tracked the entire drum part in one take, which was pretty sweet. Yeah. he's nuts. I mean, he's very, very good at what he does. So
well, you talked about a little bit about it before, and in the video I said that Blank Slate was all the members coming together from your previous bands and wanting a new blank slate to start over. And we have two of you here. Who are the other members of Blank Slate that aren't with us tonight?
Jim, and he was previously in a project called Amanita. And I still think he actually does that on his own time, because it's like his like solo project that just used to be like more of an active band. And then Zach was involved in a couple different projects prior to it as well. And like I said, like, I mean, we've been working with Jim and Zach for, you know, a pretty long time as of this point, and we all sort of know each other's hi Jake, somebody in the comments, who is that? Jake Golding, he's awesome. So yeah, from there we just sort of like know what like our talents are, and like, you know, what we can sort of bring to the table, and we just do our best to utilize all of that, you know, in a cohesive way.
Yeah, I think too, I went to high school with Zach, and he's always been involved in music like for as long as I could remember, but we actually didn't become like friends until senior year of high school. And then we like decided to start a band, so I thought that was pretty cool too.
Yeah, and it was funny because like Hannah, as she just said, like knew Zach for you know, a bit before, and she like made a like she had the intent of just like introducing me to Zach. And like at that point, like me and him have been literally best friends ever since like Hannah like introduced us to each other. And my buddy Anthony said, if you guys were to put you all in a room to fight to the death, who would win?
That's a good question, Anthony. I think we should explore it. Who would win?
I think Jim would, for sure.
I definitely think Jim would win.
Jim is a little bit older than the rest of us, and I feel like he would not be afraid to like kick one of our asses if he needed to.
How much older? Because maybe he has that like old man strength. He's just gonna get you.
Yeah, well, he's like, he weighs probably 25 pounds soaking wet, but I don't think that would stop him from just like, you know, punching you in the throat if he needed to. So, and that might be the restraint that the rest of us, you know, have, and he doesn't. He'll just punch you.
I think he would also outsmart us.
Yes.
I feel like that would be the
yeah, he's got the strategy for sure. He's
and that survival instinct, huh?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think Hannah might have the best chance of surviving, just because like she's, you know, like the girl who's not gonna want to hurt anybody, and maybe like we'd all like try to kill each other beforehand, right? And she would just sort of like chill in the background.
I think you guys have the concept for your first Blank Slate music video. Like if it was like a Saw situation with the four of you in there and you had to fight it out, then people would be like, oh my goodness, where do these visionaries come from? You know?
Yeah.
That's not too bad of an idea, honestly. We did have an original, we were going to film a music video for What's Within Reach. And the idea was we were to start like with all of like our really nice like music gear and have it be really serious, and then just like degenerate down to us like playing broomsticks in the woods.
And Guitar Hero guitars.
Yes, and Guitar Hero guitars on the way down to broomsticks.
With like the cheesy stickers. And,
yeah,
you know.
For sure. It didn't come out, unfortunately, and we ended up not moving through with it. But it was a fun idea that we entertained.
Were you two big Guitar Hero fans 10 years ago, back in the day?
Yes. I still play on Expert to this day. Except
Zach
Zach is the best. Zach is insane in Guitar Hero.
Yes.
He crushes me. It's not even close.
I just played Guitar Hero like 2 days ago. Actually, for the first time since like forever ago, like 5th grade. So, yeah, it was actually like, it was a big start for me. That was like I would say that was my introduction to like a lot of my music tastes. Guitar Hero 3.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
I definitely remember hearing like Through the Fire and the Flames for the first time, and I was like, oh man, like this is ridiculous.
I must play that. I must conquer that.
I honestly, because I remember when I was in middle school, I gave Through the Fire and Flames a try, and it was easier on guitar than it was on Guitar Hero, if I'm remembering correctly.
What?
Yeah, like because like they just made it ridiculous on Guitar. Now don't get me wrong, like I didn't go ahead and learn like the solo section or any of that, but the song itself, like the beginning part, the intro riff on Guitar Hero is like 10 times harder than it is on guitar.
Well, let me ask you, as fans of Guitar Hero, were you playing your instruments before you played Guitar Hero, or were you playing Guitar Hero and then it led you into your instruments?
Instrument before for me.
I played piano when I was like, because I think Guitar Hero was, like what, 5th grade, or was it earlier?
It was. I think I found Guitar Hero like 4th or 5th grade.
Yeah. Okay. I played piano, and then I started playing bass actually afterwards. I started playing bass when I was 12.
Oh.
Yeah.
And what led you to picking up the bass?
Definitely Steve Harris. Like my dad showed me Iron Maiden when I was in 4th grade, and he was like, just listen for the bass. And I was like, what is the bass? Like all I could hear was the guitar and like the drums and, the vocals, like all of the things that, you can hear at a first listen. And then I like started exploring listening to the bass, and I just like fell in love. So
Zach,
how about you, John?
Real quick, Zach, who's in the chat right now, said Guitar Hero got me to playing guitar, which I played for 4 years before I even picked up drumsticks, was his perspective. And then there's like a Seymour section. LOL.
LOL. All right, so there. I hope you send a thank you note to Guitar Hero, Zach, for leading you to the blank slate that we are here today.
For me personally, I definitely. It was weird because like my family's more of a sports family, and I played sports through high school as well too. I'm a huge football fan. I love football. And my dad played football through high school, and always encouraged sports on me. But like 2nd or 3rd grade, I was like, I want to play guitar. And it like came out of nowhere. Like, I mean, my dad never showed me any rock music or anything. And I was just like, I want to play guitar. And they're like, okay, here's a guitar. And
the rest is at least they're supportive.
Oh yeah. They've been awesome as far as support goes. Absolutely. I don't have a complaint there, but it is funny though, because like, it's much easier for them to relate to the sports aspect of it. Like, I mean, I talk about football with my dad, and we can talk about like plays and schemes and all the stuff that's going on, but it's not like my dad, like, knows a ton about like the progressive rock band that I'm listening to or anything like that. But he's, they still come to shows and support, which is super awesome.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's very nice. And are you a Detroit Lions fan, or do you have, like, I love the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Like, who's your team?
We are definitely. I'm personally a huge Lions fan. I know Hannah is and her dad is, but we just sort of like have taken losing as like just a part of the Lions culture at this point. We just take it for what it is. I'm also a big Michigan Wolverines fan. That's where my dad went. She goes to Michigan State, so she's not.
And you guys are in college right now, and like you said, Hannah goes to Michigan State. And what are you studying at Michigan State, Hannah?
I'm studying music composition.
Oh, to improve the blank slate as it goes forward.
Yes, that comes along with it.
And where do you go, John?
I'm at Northwood University, and I'm studying entrepreneurship. So I'm a little bit more into the business, end of things. And, as far as music business is what I'd like to do, but, we'll see where things take me.
Yeah, maybe music business to improve the state of the blank slate as things go forward.
We're going to get the blank slate pun count to 100 this live stream.
Yeah, exactly. Like, when you were thinking up your football plays, did you draw it on a blank slate?
No.
And Hannah, when writing your music, do you enjoy it on a blank slate?
These are too good.
They're too good. What are you guys listening to now? Because, I mean, rest in peace to Alice in Chains and Iron Maiden, but what are you guys listening to these days?
You can go first.
Okay, well, so I've been into a lot of, like, classical music because I'm, like, getting a classical degree. So that's been my recent craze. But I just love the indie bands that I, like, listed earlier, like, from Indian Lakes. Like, I don't know, I have this big playlist of, like, 500 songs that I just cycle through. And it's full of, like, everything. Like, there's, like, singer-songwriter stuff. There's, like, metal. There's, like, indie. There's, I don't know. I just listen to a lot of stuff.
I'm all over the place as well. Zach showed me this R&B artist called Black Bear that I am a giant fan of, which I think I mentioned earlier in the live stream, so sorry for reintroducing.
No, it's okay. Maybe Black Bear is watching today.
That would be sweet. Along with that, I listen to a lot of, like, post-hardcore music, but more on like the progressive side of things. So I listen to like Hail the Sun, Dance Gavin Dance, Artifacts Perio, bands of that nature. And then I listen to like progressive metalcore, like gent stuff, like August Burns Red, Periphery, like I said, Between the Buried and Me. Big fan of all those guys as well. So I'm definitely all over the place, as is Hannah, she's already said. But, you know, we draw our influences from, you know, a variety of places, which is why I think like Blank Slate like doesn't really necessarily conform to any specific genre. And maybe that's because we can't figure out what we want to be, or maybe that's just because like that's what we enjoy, but it's whatever.
I asked this on a earlier interview many weeks ago, but if Blank Slate could play on any bill with any act, either supporting them or headlining for an act, who would you guys play for?
Oh my.
Her answer is probably going to be very different from mine.
Yes.
But
yes.
Mine would be, you know, Between the Buried and Me and the Deer Hunter and a band from Sweden who I'm a huge fan of called Leprous are all on tour together.
Oh.
And I would kill to hop on that bill. That would be insane. The Deer Hunter is probably one of my favorite bands, like, ever. So that would be a dream come true kind of show for me.
I would definitely say, like, for me, it would be From Indian Lakes, Local Natives, Grizzly Bear. I would love to hop on something like that, like more of an indie side, but yeah.
There's all these bears. There's Grizzly Bear and Black Bear. Have you guys thought about entering into the rap category under Polar Bear? That might be an option.
Oh my.
I don't think there's a Polar Bear yet.
I don't think there is a Polar Bear yet, you know? Maybe that'll be the title of our next album. I don't know.
Well, when you and I were speaking, you said that you guys are writing some new materials. How's that going? How is Blank Slate's first full-length album coming along?
Good. We're about halfway there. We played one song with the band as a whole so far, and we all were pretty happy about it. And I know, like, saying we've played one song as a band makes it sound like we're not even close to it being done, but it's coming along a lot further, you know, a lot faster than that sounds like. A little bit softer than I've considered the following for the most part, but we still have like our distorted, like, hard rock sections for sure. And we may make it a concept album, but we're not positive yet because we're still in the baby stages of like lyricism and themes and stuff like that. There will definitely still be like some sort of thematic going on, but it's just whether or not we want to fully commit to it.
You know, John actually like maps out a lot of like our songs and how he wants them to sound, especially on the guitar. So he'll actually like provide like a guitar pro full of like a lot of ideas, and we'll all like come together and like correlate them. And usually him and Jim will come together and like write a really cool demo, and we'll get the demo and like we'll sit there and we'll like, you know, do we want this part to sound like this? Do we want this to be a verse? Do we want this to be a chorus? And we'll like, you know, sit there and figure that out, and then we'll come together as a band and like jam it out.
Yeah.
So a lot of the skeletal stuff like comes from John.
Oh, really cool. I appreciate that. I always joke that Jim just like takes my songs and makes them like not shitty because
I'm with Hannah like, there. Oh, face. No,
he seriously adds like so much as far as like the layering goes for everything. It's ridiculous, and it's an approach that I have not figured out how to take yet. I try to write Jim-esque parts, and instead I'm just like, no, I'm going to take these couple of parts that I like and send it to Jim, and he can write his stuff on top of it, and it always comes out fantastic. So we're really excited because he did take a little bit of a hiatus from the band during I Have Considered the Following. So having him as a writing element back is fantastic. Yay. Like, it's great. Seriously. We're super thankful.
Well, yes, give some shout-outs to Jim and to Zach.
Yep. Yes, we need to give credit where credit's due. I mean, they're both fantastic musicians.
Hannah, I wanted to ask you about the lyrics, if everything's okay. When I was listening to I Have Considered the Following, I noticed a recurring lyrical theme. I have failed to take my own advice. Oh, yeah. Was that on purpose to go throughout the album, or were you trying to rap and you can go advice and nice and trice and twice? What were you doing there?
Well, you know, we actually like considered making I Have Considered the Following a sort of concept album, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to take like the full step and like create an entire story for like, you know, viewers to like understand and like listen to and get the whole concept. So I wanted to like thread a concept throughout the album that like maybe people would pick up on, but maybe they
Yeah,
won't.
I picked up on it.
Yeah. So,
I
like,
need to blow the connection kazoo. I made the connection.
So I basically like threaded the I failed to take my own advice in like different spots. So I would put it in the bridge in one song, I put it in like the verse in another, and like the chorus in another, just to like kind of flow things together and maybe create a concept, but like not something that like is a full story, like front and back.
And there definitely are themes, and I've considered the following. For example, like we made it so that each title of every song fits into the sentence. I have considered the following.
Yes.
Yeah, they're things.
Oh,
pondered.
I didn't catch that one. You snuck that one by me.
Yeah, that one is. I mean, I think that one's tough to catch unless we were to tell you.
Right.
And then like there is.
I got it.
It's not necessarily a story as it is like the same kind of lyrical theme of like finding yourself and, you know, getting through like some sort of like struggle. And it really, even though like they're all different stories pertaining to different things on each song, they all represent like making it through and like sort of like that self-realization kind of part, you know?
Yeah, so like the beginning of the album is kind of like, or the EP is sort of like, you know, like assessing that there is a problem, that there is a struggle going on, and like it goes on to say like, oh, this is like I am getting through this, like this is the thing that I want to get through. And so that kind of happens in every song. Like there's like the beginning is sort of like this is happening, and then like, oh, we get through this. So
I noticed your lyrics, Hannah, are very poetic. Do they start out as poems, or do they just end up sounding that way?
Actually, yeah. I love poetry. I used to write poetry all the time in high school. So like basically what I do when I write my lyrics is I just sit down and I like, lately I've been thinking of vocal melodies first, but originally I just write poems and then I like attach them to melodies. So I'll usually like reformulate them once I find a melody that I like and reformulate the line to fit the melody. But lately I've been fitting the melody or the line to the melody instead.
And is that something that's come out of the Michigan State music program, or is that just the natural evolution of things?
Honestly, I would say it's actually coming from the music program. I've learned a lot about reshaping melodies.
Don't tell them that. They'll ask you to donate.
Yeah. But I've learned a lot about like reshaping melodies and like creating melodies. So it's really fun for me to like write a melody now and like be like, wow, I'm writing this thing and I'm going to like attach it to a lyric. So that's pretty fun.
Yeah. We and I think going forward with writing, and I sort of got it figured out with I have considered the following, but I plan on focusing more in the future, is like we have this, you know, weapon of like lyricism and melody and all that. And like originally it was like, here are these instrumentals that like don't, you know, they're like crazy and like they have all this stuff going on. And then it's like, Hannah, try to figure out like how to write vocals on top of that. And when you have like, you know, somebody who's talented that can write good lyrics, you don't want to do that. You want to showcase those vocals, not like sort of throw them in the back. So on songs like Sudden Fruition, What's Within Reach, even Inhibition, we focused more on giving Hannah space to write those melodies. A little bit more simple due to that, which bothers me as the person who has to like, you know, write complicated stuff all the time. But I think there's a good balance with it, you know, like we definitely get our moments where we get to like all showcase our individual musicianship, and the lyrics are no exception to that rule, you know?
Right.
So on the full-length album, will Blank Slate take some of the instrumental songs that don't have any lyrics, and by the time the full-length album comes out, you will put lyrics over that, or will the instrumentals remain instrumentals forever and for all time?
They're probably going to remain instrumentals.
Yeah.
I can't see Green Pencil ever having lyrics on top of it because there's too much going on.
What I could see is like parts of the instrumentals being relayed in like future songs and like having those references there, like maybe like a 30-second segment or, you know, fewer of like a little segment from an instrumental in a song with lyrics, but like not completely like the exact same song.
Yeah,
that'd be kind of cool.
I think it's like a natural tendency of people who are into progressive music to like embed like little references to other melodies back into different songs. Because like for frequent listeners, when a frequent listener hears like a melody from one song embedded into another, it's like pretty cool. And I picked that up from Periphery and the Deer Hunter mostly because they do that a lot. And I always get like super stoked when like they take like a song that I obviously like, you know, really loved and loved the story and the emotion behind it, and they reference that song through, you know, some kind of melodic theme in a new song. And I always think that's super cool. So definitely something that we might do in the future for sure.
Yeah.
How do you balance that in your live performances when you have this catalog that contains songs with lyrics and then equally long instrumental songs? How do you create that performance dynamic where you keep audiences hooked throughout the entirety of your show?
We like to space it out. So like we'll have like we'll open up with a song with lyrics, or we'll open up with an instrumental, and then we'll have like a song with lyrics, and then we'll have it, so we'll space it out so that it's like even. We don't want to have like too many instrumentals in a row or too many songs with lyrics, but we usually have our like most powerful songs in the intro and our conclusion of our show.
Yeah, and I would definitely agree with what she's just said. And I think over time that's going to become less of an issue because, like, as far as the full length goes, as of right now, I don't think anything is going to be instrumental. So that problem will slowly fade away as time goes on, because I think going forward, we're going to have much more lyrical songs than instrumental. So
I think our instrumentals are like really special to us, because it's how we started. We wanted to be an instrumental band originally, but I do feel like taking the direction of having like lyrics and having like a story to give like, to people would be really cool. So continuing that would be awesome.
Yeah.
And that's our plan.
And along with that too, I think that like as she like our crowd probably doesn't react as well to the instrumentals as maybe we hope they do or whatever for that reason, because people just resonate with lyrical songs better. But I think the one exception to that would probably be Green Pencil.
Yes.
Because that ending melody always seems to get people involved, and they always seem to dig that ending melody. So we tend to try to end our sets with Green Pencil more often than not.
Yes.
So.
Yep. Well, on Spotify, the first song I saw you guys release was a cover of Justin Timberlake's "Sexy Back."
Oh, we have to talk about that. No.
We had. Well, what made you guys choose "Sexy Back" as opposed to "Hey Ya" or "My Humps" or any other pop song? Like, why did you choose "Sexy"?
I have this story, and I think Jim still doesn't like me for it. Because what happened was we were talking about doing a cover, and Jim is probably like the biggest traditionalist in the band as far as like, like covers aren't necessarily his thing. He cares much more about like the art of music than trying to get like, views or likes or follows. But let's be honest, that's what covers are for, right? So I'll just go ahead and say that. So we're joking like back and forth about what songs we can cover, and he goes jokingly, completely as a joke, let's cover "Sexy Back" by Justin Timberlake. So my 7th string sitting right next to me, and I pick it up and I start like playing the beat like as this like heavy like chuggy guitar melody.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is sick. And Jim's probably like, oh shit, here we go. And I booked the recording date, and sure enough, that's what we ended up doing as the cover. And once again, I'm sure Jim still hates me for it, but.
Well, the rest is history. Isn't that the song on Spotify that has the most listens?
By a large margin.
Yes.
And it has like 14,000 views on YouTube too.
I don't know how, but
listen to our other stuff. We worked way harder on that, please.
Oh my goodness. Hey, but people are noticing and people are listening. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Blank Slate collaborations. You have several features, or one feature on both of your EPs. How did you build that relationship with these artists? Did you know them before? Did you make contact with them through the music scene? How did you get the artists that you featured onto your songs?
So Drusif Stalin, who now actually goes by Drusif because he quit Stalin. But
that's a Blank Slate unrelated pun.
Yeah, he's a funny guy. He started off doing like YouTube covers, and he was more on like the comedy side of things. And I've always thought he was like super funny, and essentially he released his first like actual album, and I listened to it, and it was all original music, and it was absolutely fantastic. So I loved it, and they went on tour, and my old band got to open for them.
Oh.
So like with that, I just sort of like hung around his band and was like, you know, asking him about like this concept or this or whatever, and we got to talk for like, you know, an hour or so at that venue. So it was about a couple months later where I asked him for a feature, and he accepted, and he killed it on that.
He's such a cool guy.
He is, and I got to see him again at the NAMM music conference in California that I went to last month.
Yeah, you're just out here in LA a couple months or weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah, it was super cool, and he and I got to, you know, catch up again, and I actually like went and saw him perform every single like demonstration that he had, because, you know, I got to be there and support him. So it was super cool. Steve, who's on Inhibition, is in a band called Desires. They're a spoken word band from the Michigan scene, and they are
yes.
Steve is, first of all, he's been super helpful. He definitely has been there to give like me advice on like marketing and stuff like that, as I was sort of trying to figure that out on how I wanted to go about releasing I Have Considered the Following. And on top of that, he's an incredible lyricist, and I love the vibe that he has. So I think his feature on Inhibition, I think, makes that song personally. Yes. Especially like when he starts doing like the more scream type vocal rather than the spoken word into Hannah's singing part. Like that might be my favorite part on the whole album, is that like transition from his scream into like Hannah's like, you know, more like lyrical, softer singing. So yeah.
Well, might that be an indication of future direction for Blank Slate? Because I talked about, Hannah, your vocals and how they have a jazzy quality. But John, might you or some of the other guys in the band jump in and have that juxtaposition of her jazzy vocals with a more gruff male vocal sound?
Jim is capable of doing spoken word stuff, so wouldn't count it out, but don't necessarily like plan on it. I am like, I sang on Animate, like the song Animate, and I think I'm gonna retire from singing after that. I was not a fan of ours right now. But I mean, like Hannah is miles more like established as far as the singer goes than myself or Zach or Jim. So like, you know, let's work towards our strengths and not try to, you know, make something that doesn't necessarily fit, you know. I think that's what those features were for, because like Steve kills what he does. He's fantastic at what he does. So, you know, having him there to be fantastic at what he does in our song was super cool.
I could see having more features though.
Yeah.
I could see having I could see including more like features. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, for sure. And like I think Jim or I are totally capable of doing that spoken word part if Steve isn't there to do it live too. Yes. I know when we practice it, I like sort of mess around and just like sort of like awkwardly speak that part just so that like everybody knows what's going on.
I don't ever want to feel like
this.
Yeah,
like the screaming part. I'll just be like, I'll just start like talking it like in like an angrier voice. It's pretty fun.
Or like the opposite, like it's melodramatic. I don't ever want to feel like this. I don't ever want to feel this way.
Yeah, no, that's...
Maybe we should just include those in our live sets. That's, you know.
Yeah, I'll just say, like, nobody will know what's going on, and I'll just take the microphone and just be like, during our set.
Well, what's the future hold for a Blank Slate? Do you have any new recordings or anything percolating for 2018?
I think we mentioned to you previously that we would like to tour this summer.
Yes.
We aren't counting that out yet. It's just nothing is in stone, so I don't want to say for sure that we're doing it, but it's on the agenda. For the rest of the year, I cannot see us releasing our full length by the end of the year.
I could definitely see a single, though.
Yeah, I think we might release a single. We'll see. Yeah. But now, honestly, this will probably be more of a quiet year for us overall, I would think, because we're all in the middle of like our, you know, pretty tough years of college, and we're writing and stuff like that. So, you know, not as much releasing and show playing, but
I know you guys. I know you two talked about like the sexy back controversy, but if you had to in 2018 release a cover of a current top 40 song that you hear on the radio while driving and commuting, you had to do it. What top 40 song would you release now?
What even are in the top 40?
Yeah, we're bad at that, honestly.
I don't listen to the radio very much.
Yeah, we don't listen to very much pop. I guess, so this is a little bit old, but I would definitely be down to release a weekend song.
I was thinking about that too.
Like Starboy.
Ooh.
I liked that album a lot, so I would not be against releasing something off of that as a cover.
That'd be pretty cool.
It's not going to happen, but if we had to, that's probably what we'd choose.
Trying to think. Yeah, or even like a Lorde song would be kind of cool. I know you guys would probably be against that.
No, I think that's doable. We're all big 1975 fans.
Yes.
And I know they're not technically top 40 yet, but they deserve to be and could be. So
that would be, yes. We love covering the 1975.
Yeah, we actually cover their song Sex in our live set pretty frequently. So yep, and that one we actually enjoy covering for the most part.
Yes.
Sexy Back has yet to be played live, and I don't think it ever will be.
Oh man, I'm disappointed in that. I'd be that guy in the back that's like, Sexy Back.
It's in drop A, and it's very just. I don't know.
It's like not in our style anymore either, like not even close. And I can't imagine me being up there doing the Timbaland parts, like, yeah, take it to the chorus.
And I wouldn't be able to not laugh and like take it seriously.
Yeah, I couldn't do that and everybody keep a straight face. They'd probably like kick me off the stage while they were playing. I don't know. I'm just saying it would not go over well.
Oh man, maybe one day we'll be treated to that.
Right.
Well, before you guys go and enjoy your Michigan weekend, is there anybody that you would like to give a shout out to? Any special thanks or anything you want to say before we call it a night?
I am an ambassador for Balaguer Guitars, so I would say definitely go check them out. They are hands down my favorite guitar company, and I seriously think that they're onto something as far as how they run their business. So big shout out to them. And then our producer, Michael Martinson, who is in a band called Boissonneault and also runs Undead Media.
Yes.
Big shout out to him because he makes us sound great, and he is a fantastic mentor and a fantastic person to work with. So
I'd say shout out to Zach and Jim for not being here. We miss you guys.
Yeah, Zach and Jim,
other core of our band. But that's about it for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to thank John Vokal and Hannah Boissonneault for joining me tonight, all the way from Detroit, Michigan, or Detroit adjacent Michigan. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, and I hope you guys have a great weekend. Nice to talk to you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Too.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. See. All right. Well, that was Hannah and John from the band Blank Slate. You check them out on Spotify. They have 2 EPs, Animate, and I have Consider the Following, which we also learned some really cool tidbits about tonight, and Sexy Back. Trust me, it is worth checking out this cover. Thank you to anybody who stayed with us through this live stream or who watches it at a later date. My name is Damian Rodriguez, and I hope that you have a great night.